All right, so this is part two on how to build a voice AI dashboard system that you can install in service businesses so that they have a platform to where they can look at the analytics around how their voice agents are doing, how many calls are coming in, what the nature of the calls are, and just a model around how to uh, see how well their AI agents, voice agents in particular, in this case, are performing. So if you saw part one was on how to hook up your uh, call data that comes from your agent that is uh, situated in Retell AI. So you have these agents that you can build in Retell AI, and you have a webhook that will then connect to your database. Your database is a platform called InsForge, which is a platform for they call the Backend for agentic engineering. And so that's how that hookup happens. And it's something that traditionally you would use something like a make.com for. So the call with the voice agent between a lead and a voice agent, let's take property management or a law firm where you're speaking to a lead that's incoming call. Once that call is over, that data will be routed through make.com. It may go to your CRM like Zoho, and then it will then go to a database, that call data. And so we showed how you can actually eliminate the make.com step completely and go straight from retail AI to your database, which now we are using InsForge for that database. And it does it through something called an edge function, which plays the role of what the webhooks play in make.com. So it allows that data to route directly from retail AI to the database. Now, in this video, we're getting into the pretty part. So this is actually building out the dashboard that the data in the database will uh, will fill. So this dashboard is an analytics dashboard for voice AI. So it'll show you your daily calls, the percentage of calls the AI can handle, callbacks required. You can see a graph of call volume over time. You can look at performance reporting that'll show kind of at a glance based off of the month. It'll give you the past week up to the past 30 days. It's powered by Gemini 3, which is what allows for the visual of the graphs and different sort of transformations as far as visual text. And so you get an executive summary, key insights, call categories, call volume by day. And then you also have this data canvas that you can actually prompt. So this data assistant here, you can literally put in different prompts and it'll give you these kind of graphs or just summaries that you can X out and you can put new ones through these queries. And so if you want to get the template, you'll be able to find it within the description down below. And if you want support on whether it's implementation or even just like positioning around this, you can definitely take a look at Vibe Code Pioneers, where we talk about building AI native products and systems, whether it's for yourself or for businesses you may be offering it to. And so with that all said, let's get into what it looks like to hook this up to your back end now. So again, part one, we dealt with going from the voice agent that you've set up to the back end database. And so now part two, we're going from database to the dashboard. So what you're going to do is you're going to set up a new project in Cursor. So I'm calling this one voice dashboard example. So the template is a voice dashboard. It's called voice dashboard template. All you have to do is give it to the AI to implement for you. So you're going to copy the URL. You can go into Cursor or the agent of your choice, whether that's Cloud Code, whether that's Codex. But that's if you're starting fresh, right? If you saw part one, you know that we've already done the connection from retail to the database. And so here is from the database to our dashboard. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pull up the Retail Command Center, which is the project that we created that gave us that edge function that we were able to put into retail. So we've already got the edge function. And if you want to understand how to create that, you can just go right into the first video. And I'm going to now copy the template, go into the cursor project, go into the codex extension, which is connected to my $20 ChatGPT account. I'm going to paste in the GitHub repo. I'm going to say, clone the following repo into this project. I'm going to say our next step is to connect the data in the InsForge database with the dashboard, along with Gemini 3 Pro that can also be connected through InsForge. And we'll see what it gives us with this. All right, so it's gonna merge it into our current files. And our goal here is just to get the dashboard up and connected with the first part of what we did. All right, so it created a plan mode. So it's going through these 3 planning steps. So we'll come back once that is done cooking. We're at a point now where GPT 5.4 is really good at long running tasks. It's very comprehensive, and it will should pretty much get the job done. It shouldn't be too much that you have to go through to get this up and running. All right, so it says the template has been imported. Dependencies are installed and the app validates cleanly. And then it says, if you want, I'll take the next step now and wire the Retell payload into call events, then decide whether to keep direct Gemini or move it behind InsForge. So what you're going to want to say is you should wire Gemini via InsForge, and the Retell payload should already be going into the call events based on the existing project, but take action. And so basically what's happening is we already had the Retell connection to the database, but in the template, this is just to let you know that you can start this from scratch. So you could open up a completely new project and a completely new InsForge project as well, because the template covers the whole, from beginning to end for setting this up. But if you saw part 1 of this experience, then you've already seen how to connect from Retell to InsForge. So now our focus is on InsForge to the dashboard. Okay, interesting. So it looks like from the merge, it must have kind of overridden what was already created. So in this case, it should give us a new edge function then. All right, so it's gonna link the InsForge schema and then deploy the Retell function. All right, so it looks like it found the original table now, which it should have, but must have conflicted with the template. It's also found the webhook for the function, the edge function, which I was referring to earlier. I'm just going to let the agent do its thing. All right, so I was doing a new edge function, new web. It says once you sign into the dashboard with the user, you want to own the data. The new sync legacy calls path will copy those legacy calls rows. If you want the new Retell calls to land and call events immediately instead of relying on a legacy backfill bridge, the remaining step is to either have Retell send metadata, user ID, or set call webhook default user and InsForge with owner account for multi-user workspace, we should stop using. So we can say this is going to be a single, maybe this is going to be a multi-user workspace, but all looking at the same data. Then I'll say also provide the edge function URL so we can paste into Retell. Then let's spin up the dashboard. I'm gonna say on localhost 4000. All right. So then once we get the edge function URL and then boot up the dashboard, we can see what it currently looks like. We can paste in the URL to Retell, and then we can test that it works, and we can also change the aesthetic of it all as well. It looks like how it had it right now is that it had it almost as if it's like a SaaS, where if each person that signs in comes into like a different portal of data, whereas this would obviously be a shared workspace for an internal team. All right, so we've got the build in a shared workspace now. So we've got the edge function right here. So we can take this and paste this into Retell. So we're going to go into our Retell project. I'm going to just replace what we had there. And then we can turn on the dashboard. What we can say is we don't need the Retell secret, just the edge function for the data to transfer to. And then you look to see what we have right here. And this is the demo version, right? So if I were to go and swap this to non-demo version, then you can actually, so this is also showing basically demo data, to be honest. All right, so now it's got us right here, which is the login screen. So we can test to see if the authentication works. So in the InsForge project, we already had, so it looks like we had no user set up. We just had our database set up. And then we have some other events as well, the call events. Okay, so now if I go back and actually now try to log in, so let's see what that looks like. All right. Asking for a verification code. Whoops. All right, so now we're in. As you can see, everything is 0 because there is actually no call data yet. And this is what it looks like when it's empty. And so now we've got it hooked up. So let's see what it said here. It says use this in Retell. No webhook secret is required right now. The function is already live. Set. Yep. All right. So if I go to Retell now, I could, for example, make a call, and that call data should go into our InsForge database here. Calls, call events, workspace, workspace members. And so let's try it. You may not be able to hear it on your side, but I'm just gonna call. Okay, I'm doing pretty well. Appreciate it. All right, so if we end that call, so now that call data we should now see it go into InsForge here. So we see it, okay, March 23rd, 7:17, which is actually our current time. So that means that it is working. And it was also a test, so that's why we don't see it show. All right, so now we know that that's working, and so then the next step is, all right, we just need to make sure, and it's also registering in the other spaces, March 23rd. Now we just need to make sure that when we are connected to the database that it actually populates. All right, so we had that call that we just did populate in the database. So like this example, which is like a new call is populating. And so now the next step is going to actually change the aesthetic. So let's say, you want to make it your brand, or you want to make it your client's brand. You could say, okay, looks good. It's functional. In fact, I'm going to use my voice for this. I would like to, change the aesthetic of the voice dashboard. I want to change the colors to blue, like aqua blue and white. So aqua blue with like white highlights. You can remove the logo at the top left and change it to just change it to voice analytics, and let's keep it at that. And so then that's super quick, right, and super easy, to where it'll go ahead and change the aesthetic, and then that will actually now get us to what we actually want this to look like. And so to just kind of recap what we've done here, and what we're doing here is, we had the connection from Retell to InsForge, the database, and then we connected the database to the dashboard. There was already, because of part one, we already had a connection there. And so when we downloaded the template, because that connection was already there, we had to merge with what was originally there. And GPT 5.4 was already good with doing that. And so if there was no original project, you could have done it all from scratch, and it would have given you the edge function, that URL to paste into Retell. And then once it's now all hooked up, then you can go ahead and change the aesthetic. And then once that aesthetic is changed, then it's a completely done deal. So now it's changing the aesthetic to that aqua blue, and we'll be good to go from that. And then one of the cool things about Codex, especially GPT 5.4, Claude Code has its capabilities, just its ability to test the browser and to assess how the application is performing. All right, so it's now updated the dashboard with a new look. So we should have the aqua blue and then white palette, as we discussed, and then we'll see what it's come up with. Okay, there we go. So it is rendering. We changed it from what our logo was, which I call that Agent OS, to we just changed it to voice analytics. It now has an aqua blue kind of vibe, and it's connected to the AI. And so that is how you put this together. Some caveats are, if you are working with an existing database, making sure that the loop is completely closed, to where the connection between Retell and InsForge, and then from InsForge to the dashboard, especially if you use the template to clone to your workspace, that it's all aligned. and like not one piece is missing or one tab of data is missing. If you do it from scratch, meaning that like if you open up a blank workspace and download the repo, then you shouldn't have that issue. That issue would only come up if you have the um, the Retell to InsForge connection there already. But apart from that, you have the template here. You can take a look at it in the description. So that's all I got for you today, and I will see you guys on the next one.